Alrighty. So we're showing the Fine Arts Portfolio Review website over here on the right. And everything that I'm going to cover tonight is covered in this website, and this is available to you. The URL for it is fineartsreview.risd.edu. This event is taking place on April 28th from 12 noon to 5 p.m. There's over 40 organizations, actually closer to 50 now. And we're estimating that there should be about 150 students, give or take, that'll participate. To get a preview of the reviewers that have registered, you can go to the participating reviewers or participating organizations page on the website. And that's the same URL /2025. And here you can see the name of the organization and also the majors that they've registered with that they're interested in meeting with. These majors are an indicator of what they have in mind in terms of like their expertise, but that's not to say that if you don't see your major listed under that organization, that you shouldn't approach them and reach out to them and have an awesome conversation and show your work and get their input. So let's look at some of the organizations that have come on board. So there's all different types of organizations. One category are galleries. So the 1969 Gallery is from New York City. They offer solo and group exhibitions, and they participate in art fairs. They're a frequent flyer. They've been with the Fine Arts Portfolio Review many times. So has the LACE, or Los Angeles Contemporary Exhibitions. This is an exhibition space and emerging curators program. Really awesome. Bose and Baum is a London-based gallery exhibiting international and emerging artists. And a new, oh, did I skip it? Oh, a new organization this year is Templon. It's based in Paris, Brussels, and New York City, and they exhibit international artists at all stages of their careers. So those are the galleries, some of the galleries. We also have art organizations like our local RISCA, or Rhode Island State Council on the Arts. They offer grants for artists. They have a gallery directory and calls for artists. Creative Capital, New York City. They provide grants for $15,000 to $50,000 for groundbreaking new artistic works in visual arts, performing arts, film, and literature. And that was a new one for this year. And also new this year is the Grand Central Arts Center from Santa Ana, California. They offer an exhibition space, artist residency program. They focus on socially engaged collaborations between artists and the community. We also have artist residencies that are showing up. Everybody know does anybody not know what an artist residency is? Cool. So Sculpture Space is with us again from New York. They're an international residency offering wood and metal shop facilities. The Bemis Center for Contemporary Art is in Omaha, Nebraska. They offer an artist in residence, curator in residence, sound art, and experimental music, and internships. And then new this year, the Archie Bray Foundation, best logo of the year, by the way. I love their logo. From Montana, they have an artist in residence, exhibition space, gallery, education, and research. And we have independent artists and independent curators. And so Rob Nadeau, who's an alum from '99, is a painter, and he's back this year. Peter Zell, also an alum from Sculpture and Glass, is back at it again this year. And he works in sculpture, glass, clay, and steel. Dr. Margarita Lila Rosa is an independent curator, historian, Afro-Latinx, and Black Atlantic curator. And she actually presented for our Art of Business program this past year, and she's awesome. You'll definitely have a great time if you get to meet with her. And she's new this year with the portfolio reviews. And then Emily Alessadrini is a writer, curator, and historian, also new this year. Then we've got museums that have shown up. Brooklyn Museum is new this year. They present exhibitions, public programs, and community-centered initiatives. Museum of Contemporary Photography. They're offering fellowships and prizes as well as exhibitions and educational programs. And the Queens Museum is back again this year, presenting high-quality arts and educational programming, celebrating the past and present. So that's just a sampling of some of the places, organizations, independent people that are participating, coming and offering their expertise and their perspectives on your work. So we've got them all registered for this event, and it's for you to try to take part in and experiment with. So back at the website, here we are at the Fine Arts Portfolio Review website, and we're looking right now, we're going to switch gears a bit. We're looking at the how to apply page. And so with this page, it's going to tell you everything that you need to know about this technical process. I'm actually going to refer to some of the screens of info right here tonight to make sure that you're familiar with how this works. So to start with, it would be great for us to get some explanations of the platform. So when you look at artworks, RISD artworks, the URL for it is risd.1, 20.com. You may have seen this on our website, the Career Center website before, but this is our platform. And so 1220 is the platform that hosts all of our appointments, our job listings, and it also facilitates the portfolio review. And so every group, so if we're talking about Bose and Baum, they will offer one schedule. It runs 12 to 5 p.m. and each scheduled time slot is 20 minutes. And we give the reviewers 2 breaks because 5 hours is like quite a marathon to go without a break. So over the course of 5 hours, there are 13 potential spots per schedule. Now, some of these organizations are very popular, so they'll get numerous applications from students. And so not everyone will end up on their schedule if we're talking about only 13 spots. But we do have a lottery system that I'll be going over in a minute that helps to make sure that applications are submitted and that these spots are distributed as evenly as possible by the system. And since you're going to be going into artworks and like signing up for stuff and applying for things, it's good for us to just give you kind of the terms that you're going to be coming up against when you get onto the platform. So on-campus interview, or OCI, this is a common thing that you'll be using to get into portfolio reviews. So we use the OCI feature to host our portfolio reviews. So whenever we got that ugly term OCI, it's really like, this is how we're doing portfolio reviews. And within an OCI, there are interview time slots or portfolio review time slots. We're using this interview mechanic to offer you portfolio reviews. So it's not a real interview. It will not, it has nothing to do with like a real job. And then when you apply to an OCI, it seems a lot like you're applying to a job. However, it is not for a job. It is for a chance to meet with this company through the OCI. It's a chance to get a portfolio review. And so you actually will be submitting a resume or a CV to the reviewer. Okay, so it looks and feels a lot like a job application, but honest, it's just a part of this portfolio process. And then when you go into artworks, you'll be looking on the left-hand side, you'll see that there's a link for OCI and job listings. This is how you're going to be finding the OCIs or the portfolio review opportunities for Fine Arts Portfolio Review. And as a matter of fact, I just finished the last OCI tonight, so they're all in there and you can actually go in and check them out. So I want to show you what it looks like to apply for an OCI. I have to show you this here, and we actually demo this on the website too, because if you go into Artworks, because the application window hasn't begun, you don't know what it looks like. So I want to make sure that there aren't any surprises when you get in there and it's time to start applying. So as a general concept, applying to all the OCIs that you're interested in is the way to go. So if you go in and you just apply to one OCI, to one organization, then you've only contributed one lottery ticket, so to speak. Like if you want more chances to get portfolio reviews, then you should submit more applications for more chances to get portfolio reviews. We have an application window that we'll mention in just a second, and you can apply anytime during that application window. So there's no advantage to applying first. There's no pressure. We want to make this stress-free. So we tell you in advance when this application window is, and you go in and apply. And as I think I've kind of touched upon, applying to an OCI does not guarantee a portfolio review. So we already talked about how like there's only so many spots available. So just want to make sure that there aren't any misunderstandings there. So this is what it's going to look like when you go in to the artwork system to apply for an OCI. So you'll be clicking on OCI and job listings on the left. And then you'll be clicking OCI on the top. So that's like a different tab or a different category. And then you can select one of the OCIs or organizations that you want to meet with. So here we're just clicking on this demo version, just big. And so this will pop up an expanded view of the OCI, and you'll have the ability to hit a blue apply button. Again, this is something that you won't see now. It hasn't been enabled yet. So you click that apply button, and you're given the chance to select a resume that you already have in your profile in Artworks. If you don't yet have a resume, that's okay. There's an upload option, and you can upload the resume that you want to submit, and then you can hit apply. We also have optional fields in this process that you don't need to use. One optional field is your URL for a portfolio website, if you have one. And the other is a portfolio sample, like a PDF that has 2 or 3 pages of your works, just a sampling of your work, and you can submit that. But it is not mandatory. It's not expected. The thing that is mandatory is your CV or your resume. After you hit apply, you get a response from the system. It says, congratulations, you applied. And you can go to find more OCIs on the left. So repeat that process that we just went through. After you've applied to a number of these OCIs, hopefully, because as I said, like applying to more OCIs gives you more chances, you can rank your applications. So I mentioned that we're using a lottery system. This lottery system tries to ensure that we spread out the opportunities to the greatest number of students that are participating. And the system is also smart enough to consider what your top choice is. And that gets factored into the algorithm. This is something that the 1220 platform has created for schools like us to help keep this process as smooth as possible. So let's see what it looks like to rank your OCI applications. So you're going to click ranking on the top of that screen. So before we hit OCI tab to find OCIs, now we're going to be clicking the ranking tab at the top right. This is actually what it looks like. So if we have 5 different OCIs and we want to change the order, we can literally just click and drag them into the different order. Top spot is priority 1, and it just gets lower and lower priority. You can customize this as much as you want during the application window. And when you're done, you're going to end up looking at that rank column right there, which it's pretty obvious visually, top is highest, but that just hits the point home. Now, your availability is also a factor in this. This event runs 12 to 5 on April 28th. That's a Monday. You may have some obligation. It might be a work study job. It might be a class that you can't get out of or whatever it may be. So in order to block out your availability, it's easy to do. I'll show you here. So you can go to My Interview Availability on the left-hand side. And this is under that whole OCI and job listings category. And you're going to scroll over the weeks to the week for April 28th. And you just click to add a time slot in this view. You can add a description if you want to. It doesn't really matter as long as you set it up as a blocked event. And then it shows up as a blue blip that the lottery will avoid when it's trying to assign you to time slots. Now, there is a very similar looking view of your calendar, which is when you're looking at My Calendar, which happens to be right there. It looks almost the same. That's a view only panel. So in order to block out your calendar, you must use the My Interview Availability, okay? And then the lottery results. So we'll be generating the results once the applications are done. And the lottery results will be published on Friday, the April 25th by 9 a.m. And Susan, if you don't mind, I haven't mentioned when the applications open and close, and I want to make sure that I cover that. So if I remember correctly, we do Tuesday and Wednesday. So Tuesday at 9 a.m. and that would be the 23rd. Let me check this. Sorry, guys, 1 second. So Tuesday is the 22nd. So Tuesday, the 22nd at 9 a.m., applications will open. By the way, you'll be getting emails from us that you cannot miss. So definitely pay attention to your emails from us. And then on the 23rd, Wednesday at 5 p.m., the applications close, okay? So you've got a wide window to make your applications. Thanks, everybody. So we will be publishing the lottery results, and you'll be notified by email of any meetings that you got or any portfolio reviews that you earned from the artwork system. And as a matter of fact, it's like one notification per meeting. So you'll definitely know what's going on. And then I had mentioned My Calendar as like the read-only view. That also happens to be a great place to see what you got. So in this case, we can see I have my time block over there from that class that I put in. And then I earned a portfolio review that you can see on the 28th, that small blue field. And if you click on it, it'll show you an expanded view of what you've got there. And that's the Art Fluent portfolio review, just as an example. So portfolio reviews 12 to 5 in that space on April 28th. Any questions about that process? Yeah. So they will receive whatever you submit as part of the OCI. So if you take advantage of those optional portfolio samples, then they're going to get that. Now, I'm really glad you asked about this, and I will be covering this a bit, but why don't I skip ahead a little bit? So to start with, these organizations will receive just the students' info that they got on the schedule. So if there's 50 students that applied to meet with them, and they've got 13 students on a schedule, they're just getting 13 student applications with info and stuff like that. After the event, one of the awesome advantages for these organizations, the day after the event, they get the whole slew of applications from students. And that's our way of trying to make sure that like students have the opportunity to follow up and take advantage of networking. This rare opportunity with these organizations and individuals coming and participating. Yeah.
So our CV is just there if we get selected, but they have the information. It's not influencing.
Oh, yeah, that's right. So the CV has no influence over your odds. It is by lottery. Yeah, thank you. Thanks for the questions. All right, so now that we've gotten the technical stuff out of the way, let's talk about like how to prepare for the experience. And I want to just take a moment to mention that this event, it's the Fine Arts Portfolio Review. There's nothing like it. There's nothing like it that you'll ever experience, actually. Like, when do you actually get these organizations to come and register to meet with you like this in a kind of a group virtual setting? So what's awesome about events like the Portfolio Review is that it models real world professional interaction that you can have. So when you're getting into a portfolio review and you're presenting your work and you're getting feedback, this is all stuff that you can take advantage of post-graduation, or if you're applying to an internship and you get an interview, or you are applying for a call for work and you get to meet with a gallerist or a curator. It's all real world stuff that you're practicing with awesome, amazing people that have signed up to be a part of this. So when I say that we're preparing for the Fine Art Review, what's cool is that this is not wasted effort. This is real world stuff that you'll be able to apply directly to your life and your career. So, how to prepare? You want to consider your pitch. So, what are your goals for this year and your fine art practice? Consider your passions and what you focus on in your work. And come up with a summary that you could maybe even practice with peers in your studio and get the hang of it, be able to present it confidently and with conviction. Um, and be yourself. The best thing that you can possibly do in this experience is be authentic. Sometimes this kind of opportunity can be intimidating, and it might make us think that we need to do something or present ourselves in some special way. But honestly, being real and being authentic is the best way to go about this. Questions for reviewers are great to have in mind. So, I mentioned that we've got the list of participating reviewers. You get your lottery results from us and you know what organization you might be meeting with. Look up the organization and learn more about them so that you can have that perspective as part of your questions that you ask them. So what are my strongest pieces could be appropriate, or how to improve the presentation of your portfolio? What does a curator look for in work from applicants or a gallerist or a museum? What advice do you have for an emerging artist? What types of jobs do artists have to support themselves? What's the best way for me to follow up with you? This is a great starting point. You could honestly, they're so open-ended that you could really use them as is, but you'll also come up with your own ways your own style for how you want to approach this and make the most of it. I think it's good to keep in mind that we're talking about a meeting that is 20 minutes long. Does go by very quickly. So, you may only get to one or two questions. So even having things prioritized in a way and prepared when you're going into these conversations can help you make the most of it. How to meet reviewers. So for this year, we'll be using the bring your own meeting platform option with our reviewers. So a reviewer may bring Zoom, they may bring Google Meeting, Microsoft Teams, whatever they bring, you'll just be going to the OCI that you registered for, or My Calendar, right? And you go to your blip at the time that you're going to join that meeting, and there will be a link waiting for you in the OCI that takes you right there. So you're not like copying anything and pasting. It's just click the link and get into that meeting. In some rare cases, they've provided a passcode that you may have to enter. So in those cases, we'll display that when you go to click the link. But most of the time, that passcode is embedded in the URL. So you just click it and go straight in. And in terms of timing, if you've got a portfolio review scheduled for 2:40, you could go in at 2:39, let's say. It wouldn't be good to go in before that. Like more than a minute early could be disruptive to the person that's meeting. I mean, we do recommend to the reviewers to use waiting rooms so that, there's no risk of disrupting anyone, but it's just good to keep in mind, okay? What to wear. So we're seeing an event here where it was in person, but of course, like we're still considering our presentation when we're presenting virtually. So do dress intentionally and show that you've taken care in being a part of this experience. You could try to remove any kind of like distractions from your background, be in a as professional in an environment as possible for your tastes. If that's in your studio and you want it to be kind of like an authentic studio visit kind of vibe, that's awesome. And that's why I say just be intentional about how you're presenting yourself and the visual component of this experience, okay? And of course, like doing all the tech stuff that you're very well aware of, like making sure that your Wi-Fi connection is working, restart your computer. I go months without restarting my laptop, and it can eliminate a lot of technical problems if you just restart your laptop, maybe close out other applications that are running so that you're sure that things are like as low key as possible on your device. And having decent lighting is also helpful, and just removing distractions. If you're going to be distracted by people in the room, that could, harm the experience for you. Now you've got 20 minutes to work with. So one way, one thing to consider is that you never know how these portfolio reviews are going to go. Is it something where the reviewer has already checked out your portfolio that you provided optionally? And maybe they have some questions or want to see specific projects and hear more about it. Or you may have a reviewer that wants to sit back and enjoy the ride and listen to you present your work. Or it could be a hybrid. You never know what you're going to be walking into. And this is part of your professional preparation, is like getting comfortable with this kind of uncertainty. So a good way to cover all bases is actually to open things up by saying, like, how would you like to this, go through this meeting today? Would you like me to drive and take you through my portfolio, or were there certain pieces that you'd like to see and tell me about? Um, it's also a good idea to like consistently like check in with a reviewer, maybe after a couple of minutes, make sure that they feel comfortable with what you're covering and that they don't want to like go into different subject matter. If you are sharing anything with audio, like an animation reel or footage of an installation or time-based piece, do make sure that you're sharing computer audio when you go to share your screen. Just a technical thing that I always forget whenever I'm doing that. So trying to help out here. Um, and if you're going into this situation, you're not going in blind. You know the organization that you're going to be meeting with. You probably have maybe a piece or two that you think would be extra relevant to the place that you're going to be meeting with. So if you are given the chance to run the meeting and show what you want, then consider what pieces might be most relevant to the organization, okay? Follow-up. So follow-up is probably the most important aspect of portfolio reviews. Like we would love it if we had enough portfolio reviews to go around for every single application, but that doesn't always happen. And your follow-up is your chance to take these organizations that have come forward, that have expressed their interest in RISD, that have participated in this event, and sacrificed their time, like 5 hours, to be a part of this. This is a group of people that are very motivated to meet more RISD people. So definitely take advantage of this opportunity to connect with them, whether it's through the review or after the review. So we do recommend sending a thank you note or email to the organization. A thank you note if you got to meet with them, but also like if you didn't get to meet with them, you could always thank them for being a part of Fine Art Portfolio Review. Um, you can try to connect with them on a site like LinkedIn or through social media like Instagram. And, making a connection, if you're able to do so, is wonderful, but nothing happens if you don't continue to nurture that connection, right? So staying in touch on some kind of basis, even if it's once, maybe every semester, just touching base, sending some updates of your work or something like that can be really meaningful and build a strong bond for your future. And so this is kind of rehashing it a little bit. Um, I do have in here like uh, that you can share your work with them. Um, Having received some outreach in my previous career as an employer, I can tell you that like when people reach out to these folks and they share work and they share some updates from things that you're doing in studio, fascinating things that you're doing in studio. This is all like slice of life stuff that is so interesting to read in email communications, much more so than if you just reach out and say, hey, just checking in to see if there's any openings yet for an internship or a show or something like that. Why not like bring some value and share some of what you've got, share glimpses of your studio work, your studio practice, anything like that will really offer a compelling view of what's in store for them if they choose to engage with you, you know? So what to say? I mean, if you're connecting through a site like LinkedIn, you could consider openings like this. I'll just read one of them as an example. So, hi, Audra. It was great meeting you at the RISD Fine Arts Portfolio Review. Your advice and suggestions were incredibly helpful. I look forward to sharing new work with you in the future. Please join me on LinkedIn, right? Um, also, I would say that if you had a portfolio review, perhaps there's something that was mentioned that you could help them remember you by mentioning that key thing that they gave you, like a bit of feedback or something like that. Or if in the case where you don't meet with someone, you could just express that you were hoping to meet with them at RISD Fine Arts Portfolio Review. And though you were unable to get on the schedule, you'd like to connect on LinkedIn. So, you can keep it very down to earth, very common sense language here, just expressing yourself. And, you can also learn more about these folks as you're looking them up on LinkedIn, checking out their profile and their background to see common areas of association. So, the ways to find these professionals. This is actually like an old, page from our website, but the reason why I'm showing an old page is because when the event is over, you can't see this yet, but when the event is over, we do post a link at the top of this participating reviewers page, and it's the contact list. So any of these folks that participated, you'll be able to see their name, their titles. It'll also indicate whether or not they have email available and artworks, which could be fantastic. But this is where it really like helps you to get, their name and find them on LinkedIn or something like that. Um, and that's especially where you can see that for the folks that you don't get to meet with, this is your key to being able to see who participated. In addition to the website, you can always go into the employer directory, as it's called, to search for these organizations. You can go in there right now. For the organizations that are going to be participating, on April 28th, you can go in and see those orgs in Artworks, look at people that are representing those organizations, and you can see if there's email available like right now. It's nothing, and this is a resource for you for everything outside of the Fine Arts Review as well. So if you have an organization that you're curious about, check and see if they're listed in Artworks. And this shows where you could like look at a specific group like drive-by projects, see the contacts that are associated with that record. We've got another page that's dedicated to your common questions and answers, just to really try to cover all bases here. So you can check out this frequently asked questions page for more information. And going on behind the scenes throughout the event from 12 to 5 p.m., the Career Center will be on a drop-in support line. It's got a Zoom link at the bottom right there. And you'll also be receiving email from us with this link. And so if you're having any issues, it might be that you had a meeting with a reviewer and you have questions about something that you talked about, or if a reviewer is running late and you want to check in with us to see if it's been reported that this reviewer is missing. That does happen from time to time, unfortunately. We do our best to keep these reviewers like on time and get them to where they need to be. But it can be like herding cats sometimes, so can't guarantee everything. But do reach out to us if there's anything that you have questions about, and we're there to support you.